Jasmine, how you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Jasmine, let's get to it now. Where you from?
So I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, but right now I'm about technically 3 hours away here in Canberra. But it's really easy to travel there. I often travel back and forth for work, so it's good.
Now, I kind of want to go. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I want to get down to the bread and butter. You know the stereotypes of models. Uh, let's go ahead today. Let's break that stereotype. Tell everybody what you go through to go through a daily basis, especially on a day you have to work.
Well, like, well, I have to say, like, modeling is so much fun. I'm very thankful because, I think for the most part, at a stage where I am, you tend not to work with people who are not legitimate or unprofessional. So I'm very thankful that I'm never in that position where I'm on a set and there's absolute chaos. But going right into it, yeah, like a lot of people have this perception about models in general, perhaps especially about Playboy models or anyone who poses for those sort of very glamorous magazines. But moving forward, like I'm very passionate about my work, but I'm also passionate about the business side of things. And, to understand the business and to really be a good business person, you do need education and knowledge. So it's completely false when people say that models do not have any sort of intelligence because, yeah, it's just wrong to say that. And it's really funny because I think for most part, like as a model, or to be more exact, as a female model, I should say, like I think, when you are, looked upon by other people, especially guys, like they just have this, I guess, this fantasy and they forget that you're like a person as well who has their own lives. So it can be really hard, to sometimes accept or sometimes witness how people look upon you. And it's really funny because I've been, looking up stories or, over the internet and been speaking to, female friends of mine. And it's like, I think a lot of models, not necessarily just Playboy models, but a lot of models or a lot of women in the creative industry can be, I suppose, looked upon like that, or perhaps women in general. So it's like, yeah, I think people need to kind of wake up and not see that models are just like that and they're not, smart or anything. Because at the end of the day, we are all people.
And yes, fellas, was talking about me when we was not recording. She was hitting on me, and I told her, I said, no, no, I'm married. Anyway, you talked about the business side. Uh,
Yeah.
tell us more about the business side. You said you got to be business minded. What's the things that a model needs to look at to be knowledgeable about the business?
In generally speaking, like if you have a broad knowledge about the whole creative industry, not just modeling itself, it really helps. Like for starters, and like I guess people would assume this, but not necessarily know further into how this all works. So I understand photography can, be a lot of money to do, like the equipment and everything like that. And then I understand like when it comes to the editing process, like that's a long, lengthy process of its own. So like if I just had a photo shoot done, I wouldn't expect the images to be done like within the next 2 days unless I was told so. So understanding the process of a photo shoot and then what happens afterwards in terms of the final product, which is the images and so on, you need to understand how that whole thing works, if that makes sense. And again, like a lot of people would say it's common sense, but then maybe not many people know about it. So for me, it's like but understanding the process as well. And then, when it comes to more into finance and business, understanding like how much you need to, put up your rates for how much you should be charging for certain things or for certain projects. So there's a lot of like things to consider, and I think that would be just the tip of the iceberg. So those are just two things I mentioned right there. but you also have to understand like generally how business works, like the basics. I think a lot of people like can be a bit, I don't know, naive, maybe, like they don't understand that, you know, they have to do things this way, and a lot of people can take advantage of that. And it's not to say that people are silly or anything, but I think sometimes in general, just as a creative, whether you're a model or not, you can be sometimes a little bit too nice, and you may offer your services for too less of an amount, and or you might not, or you might let, you know, people dictate your work a bit more. So it's like very important to be very level-headed and to understand the business basics and rules and how things are meant to work.
Now you talk about being naive. Did anybody, when you first started out, did anybody try to take advantage of you? I'm talking about
Like, I
financially.
think financially, I think so. Like, I think there were a few times where a lot of like photographers would reach out to beginner models like me and say, hey, you know, if you want a portfolio shoot, this is how much I charge and this is what we can do and blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, like I guess that isn't really scamming, depending, of course. But at the same time, I think a lot of the time that when you are a beginner, you don't know it much better. So I guess for people trying to sell their services, they can try to take advantage of that. But in saying that, and I was just talking to this with another photographer over the weekend, actually, we're talking about people being not financially scamming, but like we're talking about how people can take advantage of models in a more dodgy sort of way, like be flirtatious or be a little bit, I don't know, invasive of personal space on set, like just doing things that are kind of I don't know. I don't want to say like sexual assault, but even just, you know, going that little bit over the line is technically unprofessional. And we were talking about how a lot of photographers or people will do that to beginner models. So models that have just started and they don't know, or models who are really young and have just started, like if you were 20 or something like that. So we're talking about that, and yeah, and I was mentioning how there were, like, I guess a couple of close incidents that happened to me when I just started, but I had backup, I had a team and behind me, and I kind of knew that things were a bit weird by the way they would speak. So it's like, I think it's very important to be aware of these sort of things when you're just starting. And but yeah, luckily for me, like I have a team behind me, and I think, and we were just saying this as well, when you are like a very professional model and people know you for your work, you tend to get less of those people because, you know, you wouldn't want to, I suppose, approach a very high-end model or even a high-end actress with a lot of followers. You wouldn't want to, like, I guess, do that because it wouldn't take long for someone else to find out or for that person to pass it on to their team and just, you know what I mean? And that would be like these people who do these sort of things, they normally don't want to get caught. So
No, you talk about having a team. Are you talking having an entourage, or are you having like business people behind you?
well, I have a team behind me, so I have a couple of managers, one in Australia, one in the US. I'm signed with a couple of agencies as well, and I have, like, I guess you could say, business partners, so people who are close to me, and we talk about a number of projects when the time comes. So it's good to have that sort of backup, and you know, I do have a mentor as well, so they teach me a lot about how things are. So it's really funny because I never really thought about it that much, but I guess you could say I'm very grateful to have very supportive people behind me.
Now, you brought it up, and I'm gonna have to, you know, try to understand this. Sexual harassment in your career. Okay. You know what you do for a living. You model. You have to look beautiful in front of the camera. It's part of your job. And you talked about young girls be taken advantage of, especially if they don't know any better or they don't have a team like you have. Uh,
Mhm.
how bad in your industry is that problem?
Like, I think it's can be really bad. Don't get me wrong, I've heard stories where it's just as simple as, you know, people sending very disturbing messages to models. And I guess that is still bad, but I guess, you know, sending a message is very different in comparison to being on set and something actually physically happening. So it's actually been a while since I've heard such horror stories to that extent. But I remember, I think it was easily a year ago, I heard some stories from somebody. And then I think it was my second year of modeling. I was doing this major project, and yeah, I was having conversations with that team that I was working with, and they were saying how they heard this many stories and what actually happened on set to some of these models, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it can be really bad. It can be very wild, and it's definitely not a good thing for that to happen, especially to very, you know, or especially to anyone really. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you're very young and you just starting model, I guess you don't have backup, then that can be very bad in a situation where you were being harassed in any shape or form.
I understand what you're trying to say, and you know, I think anytime that you have a team behind you when you're in any type of profession is a good thing. Do you think about having an agency, or you know, being in? I know you're independent as a model. What I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, being the head dog, being the boss. Do you ever think about taking it to the next level?
Like, the really funny thing is, I thought about it maybe a couple of times, but I didn't really touch base on that at all. Like, I guess there's other ambitions that I have before I would go on to consider that. But I had a lot of like friends or even people that um who had met me, and they said that to me, like, oh, have you thought about like opening your own agency? I was like, no, actually. So it was really funny how a lot of people came up with the idea for me. So now that's happened a few times, maybe I will start thinking about it.
I didn't mean to, you know, bring up something that's gonna make your wheels start turning. Uh, but
Mm.
I mean, yeah, you know, I'm a little older than you are. You know, I could only dream or imagine. You know, we got the CTS, but you know, if I would have started this 10 years ago, imagine where the CTS interview room could be. You're 26, I believe, 26.
Yeah.
At 26 years old, you know, by the time you're my age, make all the right decisions, which I think you have so far, the world is just an oyster to you right now. You could pretty much take over the world if you wanted to. Let's look at all your accomplishments so far. Australia's top glamour model for 2 consecutive years. You got you was Playmate of the Year 2 times for Playboy. Uh, on the cover of Playboy Croatia. You know, you've been on several magazines, and now you come into the United States.
I was there twice for two fabulous tours. The first tour or trip, I should say, was for almost a month. The second time I was there for maybe 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. But I was very productive in those trips. Like, my manager and I, we met up with my US manager. We also produced many like photo shoots. We networked with people. We attended a couple of events. And again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, we did a lot of networking. There was a lot of behind the scenes work as well. So it really goes to show when you really put a lot of passion and time into it. And if you're very articulate and you say, okay, this is what we need to do, but we also need to do this, and you keep going into it, then you can really achieve a very good business trip. And that's what it ended up being for us. And like, we met so many amazing people as well. It wasn't just all business. And we stayed connected with them. I was just talking to a US photographer that I worked with, what was it, last year? But I've known them for a while. And it's just great to still hear from everyone during these times. And I think they were saying that international travel for Australia, at least, in most cases, will be, I guess, restricted for at least another like 8 months. And I was like, oh my God. So it's good to stay connected with people this time. But I did want to show your audience this, because this is something I'm very proud of. So This year I produced, or my team and I produced, another incredible photo shoot in Australia. And of course, with, all our amazing effort, we did some incredible photos. And on top of that, it got published in my latest Playboy cover, in Playboy Sweden. So it's that just came out last month, so it's very recent. So this is the October issue, yeah, of Playboy Sweden. So I'm very passionate about this because it's something that, I guess means a lot to me. It's my third cover, and it was my ninth appearance. I just got featured in Playboy again this month. So as of now, I've done 10 appearances in Playboy, including 3 covers. So it's an amazing achievement to have. And of course, in saying that, just touching base, this year was very strenuous for everybody, no matter where you were in the world. And I can definitely say, like, when this whole thing started and, the lockdown things happened, I was in this very not so great headspace naturally, like everyone else. So to be able to be persistent, to be able to be so ambitious and keep moving forward, and to do these amazing things that my team and I did, it's just so incredible. So I just want to thank them, and I want to thank all the industry professionals that I worked with this year and stayed in touch with, because without this incredible ambition that everyone has, I guess I wouldn't have achieved this, or we all wouldn't be here. So it's definitely been an incredible year. I think it's been incredible. It's been different, but it's definitely been an incredible year that I'll never forget. That's for sure.
You know what, Jasmine? I like to hear that because it tells me right there that you're a very humble person. You're not somebody just full of themselves. That it wasn't just all you. It was the team. It was the team that got you here, helped you out, and to have 10 appearances in Playboy. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Now, I was never really I was never really a Playboy magazine type of guy. Of course, you'll see them in the gas station in America. You'll see them in the gas stations, or you want to see them up front. But I mean, every guy wants to be Hugh Hefner. That's just every guy's dream. Uh Modeling for Playboy. How difficult, especially your first time doing it. I think all our audience knows that you have to get naked in Playboy. I don't think anybody's shocked. If you're at home, comment below if you're shocked that you have to get naked in Playboy. All right. And then go learn something because you're an idiot. But with that said, how when your first time had to dress, getting nude, how was it uncomfortable for you? Was it something natural? I mean, take me through the process.
I think it was very I don't know, I guess, I knew what Playboy was all about, before I even posted. And I will say this, Playboy has changed a little bit over time, depending on the edition, because there's so many editions that you have. You have Playboy Sweden, you have Playboy Croatia, you have other editions as well. You have the original Playboy, which has gone digital, I heard. So that was very, I guess, somewhat surprising to hear. But moving forward, it depends, because I think it was the first 3 or 4 Playboy appearances, it was just lingerie for me. But when it started getting that next level up, for example, when I did my first Playboy cover, which was for Playboy Croatia in 2018, I basically had to be nude for that, and I was aware of it. I mean, we started in lingerie and then we continued into nude, and it was great. The team was so incredible to work with. The photographer was a very nice person and easy to work with as well. But I remember, I guess it was nerve-wracking because I knew what this was for, and I knew how important it was for me. But at the same time, yeah, I guess the first 10-15 minutes I was kind of nervous. I wouldn't say afraid, but just naturally very nervous, because we had Naked News crew from Canada there because that's where we did the photo shoot. So we had a few people there, like the camera crew, my own manager there, obviously the photographer. So there were already a few people there. So it took me that 15 minutes to really feel fully adjusted. But like straight after that, I felt really empowered and I just felt so amazed to be there. Like I honestly, I have to say, like, it really comes down to a number of factors, like how you feel on the day, and of course, a team that you're working with. But in saying that, like, a general rule is that if you work with a very difficult team, like if people just aren't that great or professional to work with, then it doesn't matter if you're posing nude or posing in clothing. It makes the whole process difficult. Because at the end of the day, it is literally teamwork. It's not just you standing there and taking your own images. It's, you know, everyone involved doing their bit. So, yeah, but to go back to Playboy and my experience with that, every photo shoot has been so incredible and very, very empowering.
Some of the sacrifices that you have to go through just to become a model. I mean, I can tell you right now, just I know for a fact it wasn't just a smooth road. It wasn't just something that you just woke up this morning. I know you had a rough road, tried to get to this position in life that you are now.
No, most definitely. And people seem to just misunderstand that. I mean, there are people who fully understand. Maybe it's because they've read about things or they know someone who is a model or a creative in general. So it can be very hard for people to understand. And even if people do think they understand, they still don't really fully know the different components or the different things that you've had to go through. Like, oh my gosh, like it's just it brings back, for me, it makes me cringe a little bit because I it brings back memories where like I've met people and they just, I guess for lack of a better explanation, they just really don't understand what type of working schedule I have and what I really do and what I have really been through to get where I am. And I think like what people need to really understand, first and foremost, is it doesn't matter how famous you are or how many magazines that you've been in. Behind that, there's a lot of time and work put into it. It wasn't an overnight process or a click of the fingers job. And then on top of that, people need to realize that whilst these people or that model or that actress or whoever did that, they also had their everyday life and they had other projects they had to work with. They had a full-time career. It's like people will understand for any reason that doctors go through a lot because to study to be a doctor is like, you know, you're at university for a very long time. So this is basically the same process, but obviously you're not, you know, doing medical work, you're doing creative work. So if people could just understand that, you know, creatives are, first of all, human beings taking on this full-time career and making all these sacrifices, then they would really understand, I guess, what it takes to, you know, to do all of that. And, you know, that at the end of the day, we are just people doing our thing and just working our very best. So for me, that's just what I cringe on, when people just don't understand all of that. And hopefully by me explaining that in this interview, maybe a few members of the audience will really understand and get the idea of how amazing it is, but also how the struggle or the strenuous journey, you know, is there when it comes to this sort of work.
Now, all that is very interesting, but relationships. Uh, people know, guys know what you do for a living. You know, were there any stories? I mean, I want to say stories, but you know, for me, I I was talking to a female actress, and
Mhm.
you know, I asked her, you know, you know what you. She was a certain type of actress. Let's put it that way. She's now in the video game world, and she has her own Twitch account. And I asked her, you know, guys know what you do. You know, has there ever been a type, like for me personally, I'm not, never been the jealous type. Okay, so you're in a relationship. They know what you do. Any difficulties in the past that relationships that got damaged because, hey, I don't want you to do that Playboy cover, or I don't want you to do this magazine? Or did
I
you
think
tell,
like there have been a few
or did,
times.
or did you tell them straight up, this is what I do. If you like, this is, or this is our relationship.
Well, like I think for the most part, like a lot of people do know what I do because I'm very open about it, clearly on social media. But like, yeah, I mean, in all honesty, like I'm a very upfront person. I'm not like rude and upfront, but I'm very upfront and I say, this is what I do and this is who I am. And basically, basically it's one of those things where you do have to be very open about your work. We also have to be very proud of it. So people can't agree with that at first, then I think automatically you should walk the other way around. So yeah, there's been definitely many times where I've had to be upfront to people, not only guys, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So not really guys. Did we just
Not
hit up?
only guys. When I say that, I mean like if people want to like I guess associate with me or like when I say associate, I mean like, you know, friends and stuff like that. So in other words, like I'm very open about who I am. I don't try to hide. I'm
Right.
not socially awkward. Like if people, yeah.
Oh, I mean, honestly, the guy in me was getting excited. I was like, okay, we just entered something that I want to talk about. Okay. Yeah.
Oh no, not in that way.
Oh, I was like, CTS interview room, ladies and gentlemen. But no, you ruined it. Okay. So I mean, you was Playboy of the Month in Playboy Croatia. You know, magazine, top level magazines. I mean, you're a very accomplished young lady, and the fact that you come on our show is, you know, I'm humbled and I sincerely appreciate the fact that you came on our show. Uh, One last question: what do we got to look forward to in the future?
Well, there's so many things that I'm working on. I have to say I'm like overworked. So I'm very much looking forward to a nice little holiday towards the end of the year. So definitely deserve that break. But I think moving forward, like fans can watch episodes 1 and 2 of my reality web series. So that is a developing project that I'm very excited about. So there's a lot of things to look forward on that. It's all online, so it's free to view. And for those who are wondering, all they have to do is head to the Daily Motion and search Jasmin Shojai TV. I will spell my name later on. But yeah, moving forward, I'm working on a number of things. I'm transitioning into acting, so that's something that I'm very excited about. I've already been at acting school for about 2 years, and I'm taking on hopefully some extra coaching because I really want to get into it. But yeah, fans can expect a lot more of my acting adventures being posted up on social media. And yeah, definitely stay tuned because obviously I am, you know, known for all of my amazing work. So I have my Playboy adventures. I have, you know, other magazines that I'm consistently working with. So there will be a lot of that. But speaking of magazines, I do have my new online store. So there's autographed posters and soon to be more on there. So if fans want to like purchase a magazine or purchase a poster in relation to a magazine with my autograph, then this is a perfect opportunity to do so. This is the autographed, these will come autographed for those who are interested in purchasing a copy. There's about 8 magazines left. So in order to get an autographed magazine for now, all you have to do is send us an email. So these are the details that I have. I actually will search up the direct URL. But if people were to head on to my Instagram for starters, it is Jasmin Shojai Models. So my name or my last name is spelled Shojai. And in my link, like the link in my bio is my online store, but if you were just searching it up on its own, it's Jasmin dash Shojai dash model dot square dot site, and that will lead fans to my online store. But otherwise, it's very easy to obviously access through Instagram. And yeah, on Facebook, it's Jasmin Shojai Model as well. On Twitter, it's Jasmin_Shojai. So there's a lot of things always happening on my social media. Like I will post about the magazines, I'll post about any specials that I have on, I'll post about my adventures. But yeah, moving forward, if if fans had a question about anything really, about the merchandise, I should say, all they have to do is email my team, which is in my Instagram as well. But for those wondering, it's a bit of a difficult email to spell as well, but it's Josh Shoemaker at jasminshojai.com. So yeah, the best way is to head through to my Instagram, as all the contact details are on there. And yeah, so I really hope everyone enjoyed watching this interview. There's definitely a lot of things that people can expect to happen in the near future and so on.
Thank you very much for coming on the CTS Interview Room Sunday interview. And to everybody else who wants to see beautiful young models on the show, all you have to do is hit that big subscribe button right now and go ahead and press a like on this video, because Jasmin was not going to come back if we only have 4 subscribers. She wants to be on a show with 400,000 subscribers, and she's not coming back till we get to that mark. So if you want to see her again, get your friends, subscribe. Jasmin, any last words?
Yeah, just thank you so much for all those watching this interview. It's my pleasure. And yeah, I'll see you all on my social media. Thank you.
And yes, and the pleasure definitely was all mine. Jasmin, this is the best date I had since 2009. So I appreciate it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Well, it's good to hear.
Yeah, man, I'm going to get divorced after this interview. All right. With that said, everybody else, Jasmin, stay on the line. Everybody else, see you next Sunday.